Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Jose here, welcoming you to, another episode of Amazing Worlds, where today I am going to be reviewing Dragons of Summer Flame by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Because if you haven't done so, check out my earlier videos on the Dragonlance series reading order, my review of Chronicles of the Dragonlance, and my review of Legends of the Dragonlance. Now, for those of you, my wily viewers, watchers, subscribers, I am sure you cunning people would have noticed that in Chronicles of the Dragonlance we had Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Dragons of Winter Night, and Dragons of Spring Dawning. And then we moved on to Legends of the Dragonlance, and we were missing a season. We're missing a season, hence why we got Dragons of Summer Flame about, I think it was 9 years after the last Legends book. However, if you were intrigued, if you enjoyed Chronicles and Legends and you wanted to continue with the story of Dragonlance and those characters, before you embark in the estival season, you don't need to, but I strongly recommend that you read the second generation, because a lot of the stuff in here helps a lot to understand what's cooking here. So, what have we got back? Second generation is a collection of short stories that had already previously been published, and they were put together. It's about 6 stories. They're not very good in quality. They really aren't great at all. There's nothing terribly bad, but there's nothing good either. But they introduce the main players in Dragons of Summer Flame. So the first story collected here, they have been published before, I think in magazine format and stuff like that. The first one is Kitiara's Son, so the title gives away what it is about. So we introduced to Kitiara's Son, one of our antagonists in the War of the Lands. The second story, called The Legacy, what was to me the more interesting one. So it's about one of Caramon's sons who decides to be a wizard, much to his father's dismay, and how he goes to take the terrible test of wizardry, test of magic, and how he comes across the staff of Magius that used to belong to his uncle Riesling. Aha. The third story is called Wanabet, and that introduces us to a few years after, where Palin's a really wizard and his other brothers, and how they come across this peculiar dwarf, and we are introduced to this mystic ancient relic called the Grey Gem, which plays a crucial part in here. The fourth story is called Riesling's Daughter, again, bit of a giveaway, who may or may not be one of the main characters here. There's a whole lot of legend and myth within Dragonlance as to whether Riesling had a daughter or not, and in here we are presented with one such potential account. In the fictional sort of biography of the story, Caramon himself tells us not to believe the story that we are told. But then again, when you read the story, maybe you realize that Caramon's got reasons why he doesn't pay credence to the story, which are his own, and maybe not, maybe yes, maybe not, one of those things. And the final story is called The Sacrifice, where we introduce to Tanis' son, and his struggles to keep the two quarreling, eternally rivaling elven kingdoms of Sylvanesti and Colinesti, and brokering the peace there. Anyway, you can see why this is called the second generation, because we are introduced to the second generation of heroes. Stupid of me to explain that point, but there you have it. So now we can move on to Dragons of Summer Flame. Now, my first impression is that this plus this could have been put together, flesh it out, and give us a proper trilogy. But that was not to be. So there you have it. It feels a bit of a, slapdash job being done here. Now, what we have here is that the goddess of evil, the goddess of darkness, Takeshis, she has some sort of relation. She figures out that the reason she lost the War of the Lands was because the Solapnik Knights and their code of chivalry and ethics and all the stuff is what made them a really strong unit, and she couldn't defeat such a well-organized enemy. So she decides to create her own kind of elite body corps, her own Dark Knights, the Knights of Neraka. So she's got her own order of Dark Knights in another attempt to come back into the real world and conquer everyone and everything. However, out of nowhere, because this is not hinted at previously in any of the books or the history of the world, there is a father of the gods, Chaos, that is coming to destroy the world. And I found that a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Chip shot. Because there was never hinted, it was never part of the world building that there was a father of the gods that was trapped and is coming back to the world to destroy it and crush everything. That was never hinted at. Furthermore, back in the day, we're talking way in the last century, at the time when the legends were finished and published, there came about a little book called The Appendices of the Dragonlance. I remember that book. I borrowed it from my local library, and it had a whole host of, typically appendice type things about places, maps, the pantheon of gods. Even it showed you the shape of the constellations that belonged to each god and all that kind of stuff. And in there, it was never hinted at that there was a father of the gods, Chaos. So, they just came up with that as a plot device out of nowhere. Kind of out-of-world Deus Ex Machina type new antagonist thing in here. So we follow our main character, Palin, Caramon's son, that we got introduced quite conveniently in the second generation. And we also follow a young lady, Ricelin's daughter? Maybe not. Is it the same girl we met in the second generation? Maybe not. That's never been clarified. I think it's pretty much up to the reader whether you decide she is or she's not Ricelin's daughter. And of course, we needed Tassahole Barefoot Vakenda to make sure that whenever we get stuck and the plot gets a little bit railroaded, he can get and break away from anywhere and do something stupid or kinderish and move things and hurry things forward. And also we've got this weird situation where Tassahole is not the voice of reason, but he's the driving force behind Usha, supposedly Ricelin's daughter, maybe not, and so on. And I don't want to give any more of the plot away. And it's Dragonlance, so you get what you should be used to by now. Is pure Dungeons and Dragons. So we've got dungeons. We do have dragons. We've got dwarves. We've got wizards. Kanda. All sorts of mythical, magical, fantastical creatures, wizardry, all sorts of stuff, and a final fitting send-off to some of the remaining heroes of the lands that remained alive from the chronicles and legends. Now, my opinions, impressions on this book, second generation, and this book, I think, to me, are for fans of the world and the series who want a bit of closure, who want a bit of completing the story. Although, if you decided to stop at Legends, I wouldn't blame you, and I would say well done to you. I'm pretty certain you would have enjoyed Legends, and if you thought that was okay, that's perfectly fine. You're not missing anything from not reading the second generation and Dragons of Sun Flame. Because this brought to me, again, to my attention, some of the problems I've got with revisiting certain worlds at points in the future. And that is that you need to get invested in new characters again, and getting invested in new characters in a world you're already familiar with, I think is difficult. Recently, I just finished reading the Life Ship Traders, and it is the realm of the Elderlings world, and I got very attached to Fitz and the Fool, and then I had to get to know the Vestrit family. But look at the space they've been given to grow and be introduced and cared for. And in here, that's it, and we have to get to love a whole new generation of heroes. It didn't really quite work, and they're not as likable as the original cast of heroes. The way this book ends, it's a kind of, I like to think of it as a coda to the Heroes of the Lands, Chronicles and Legends. You're kind of ending on a low note, but knowing that it's out there, and considering you're a fan of the series, why wouldn't you read it? Just for completeness, it's I don't know how many pages has it got. It's got 575 pages. Read it, you get a bit of closure, end of story. And I think that was all for Dragonlance. Weiss and Hickman should have left it there. Obviously, as we know, we got the War of Souls and we got the Dark Disciple trilogies after. So, if you're new to Dragonlance, do not start here at all. It doesn't make any sense. You literally started after the halfway point, and a lot of things here wouldn't make any sense to you. If you've read Chronicles and Legends and you liked it enough, this may give you a bad fix of your Dragonlance heebie-jeebies if you're in need of a Dragonlance shot. And if you were about the first two series, well, those were the best ones. So I would say you're not missing anything by not reading this for the fans. Which pains me to say, because I'm a huge fan of Dragonlance, and I've read Summer Flame a couple of times, and whereas I've read Chronicles and Legends countless times each, I cannot see myself really picking those up for a very long time. But there you have it. So that's all I've got for today. This is the second time I've recorded this video because I wasn't too happy with what I did the first time, and I'm trying to do best I can here. I do apologize for the lighting, but I'm in a new room, trying to play with the lights and the orientation and everything. I haven't quite figured it out yet. And what else do I want to say to you? As you see, my shelves are a bit emptier because I got way more shelves. So all my fantasy stuff is here, and hopefully there's more coming once I manage to do the 6-hour drive to my parents to collect a few things. Shout out to my new subscribers, everyone. We are 48 now, and I did say I would do some funky review when I got to 50. So it's going to happen hopefully soon, and I'll try to do something a little bit different. Going back to work, school is going to start, and it's going to be interesting to see all the kids wearing masks, including myself, and teaching with a mask on, but that's how life is going to be for now. Anyway, people, I don't want to go on anymore. Thank you ever so much for your time. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Dragons of Summer Flame, have you read it? Do you agree with my review or not? Is this something that you're intrigued? Did you get hooked on Dragonlance and you want to read these or not? Just let me know. Let's keep the conversation going. Finally, and once again, thank you very much. Spread the message, spread the love, take lots of care, and I will see you next time. Bye.